Recording in progress.
My day was good, and I bless God. Yeah, and I'm glad you had a good day too. I hope school went well, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, good. So today is going to be today is going to be our last session, and I want to believe that you've learned quite a lot, right? Yeah. So um, I will reserve all comment to till the end of the session for today, so that we would be able to cover all that we need to cover before um, the due time. Okay. So without wasting much time, we'll be looking at the real life scenario exploration of all that we have discussed. And then we're going to look at interaction mapping. We're going to get involved in some activities. Okay. So, like the mail I sent to you, I told you in the mail that I want us to make it more of um, a discussion class today, okay? And then we will be engaged in some activities and to another assessment to test how well you have comprehend what we have been um, teaching, what I've been teaching for the past few weeks. So a quick recap of all we have done so far. Um, we established the fact that all environments are interconnected and are interdependent, right? There's no environment that exists in isolation. The natural environment exists before every other thing. Okay. But humans and every other living creature are within the natural environment, and human being needs to um, make the environment more conducive for herself. Do you understand? And that is the reason why they need to modify the natural environment. In one of our sessions, we established the fact that we cannot just as humans, we cannot just be living in the bush, right? We cannot just be living in the mountains because it's beautiful. No, we have to modify the bush, which is the vegetated part of the earth. We have to modify it to suit our desires, and that is where you find human being clearing the bushes and constructing buildings, right? Yeah. So the natural environment, as we have it on the slide, if you don't, if you still remember from our previous sessions, I've listed the examples of the natural environment as land, water, ice, air, soil layers, man, plant, and animal. Each of those examples belong to each of the spheres of the natural environment, right? So can you tell me what sphere land belongs to?
It belongs to natural environments.
Yeah, what sphere of the natural environment? Don't have you forgot? Do you remember the six component of the natural environment I told you?
Oh,
I taught you.
atmosphere.
No, land. Land belongs to where?
Land belongs to the pedosphere.
No, lithosphere. You remember? Land belongs to the
Mm-hmm.
lithosphere, right? Yeah. Then water belongs to where?
Hydrosphere.
Good. Ice belongs to where?
Cryosphere.
Good. Air belongs to
Atmosphere.
good. Soil layer belongs to
Pedosphere.
good. The man and animals and plant belongs to
Biosphere.
great. Great. That's impressive. So then we have the second environment, which is man-made environment, which we otherwise refer to as the built environment, right? And then we
Mm-hmm.
have basic components of the built environment. You remember from the last class?
Yep.
We call them building and structure, transportation systems, infrastructure and services, industries and technology, rural and urban settlement. And we explained each of these components, right? Do you still remember?
Yep.
Yeah. And then the last, and which is the third type of environment, is the social environment. Everything that man does within the natural environment is for his own benefits. Do you understand? And that is where the term social comes in. Because whatever we do, we modify the environment to our own taste so that we can interact within the environment, right? And that interaction is what is called social. It is from the word socialization, okay? Good. So we move to the next slide. So now, today we want to apply a real life scenario, okay? So I want you to pay very close attention to this particular slide because in the subsequent slide, I would need you to give me your own real life scenario, okay? Are you with me? Yeah. So the real life scenario that I'm going to put you through now is how the natural environment and the physical and the man-made environment and the social environment interact. Okay. So human, like I told you from the last class, are the final decision maker of how the natural environment looks like. Do you understand? How are they the final decision maker? They are the one that design what should be in the natural environment, and then they execute whatever it is they have designed. Okay. And whatever it is they execute is what we call modification. They modify or change or put the environment in the way they want it to be. Okay. And man do all of this for his own personal need. So these modifications or transformation affects both natural and social system. You know, before man builds a house in a particular space, that space most likely would be occupied by green plants or vegetation or what you call bushes, right? It is when man desire or make the choice to, to build a house or construct any physical feature in that particular space that the natural environment becomes modified. Okay? Most of the places where we have our houses today or our homes were once bushes. And then man cleared it and turned it into residential area or factory area or recreational areas, right? Yes. So example of how man modifies the environment is man they build cities around rivers, right? So that river in that context is the natural environment. The building is the what?
The building is the human-made
Yes, human
or
made.
building and structures.
Exactly. So another example is a bridge and road that is constructed over the river. Okay. Another example is people. Then all these things that human has built in the natural environment to modify the natural environment is where they now execute or carry out social interaction. Okay. And we do social interaction when we go to work, when we go to school, when we go to places, eateries to eat, or any other recreational centers. Okay. So do you understand what I mean by real life scenario now? And when it is time, you can give me a real life scenario too, right? Good, good. So I want you to look at this picture quickly. It's A, B, C, D, E, and F. The first one, which is A, has what on it?
It has people like building a
Okay,
building.
okay. Before those buildings got there, what do you think was the natural component that was in existence before the building got there?
Probably like grass and trees.
Yeah, and possibly land, right?
Mhm.
Empty land, and that land in that context is a natural component, right? Then human being turn the space or the land into buildings, right? Then look at image C. What do you what kind of activity is going on there?
There's like a farm, so humans put like crops and stuff into the land that was already there.
Exactly. So initially, that space was initially a fallow or empty land. Then man make use of it by performing or executing agricultural activities on it, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Then look at image E. What do you see?
I see like a bridge getting built
So what?
and it gets
Okay.
affected by
Okay.
so before it was just water and
Good.
now they're building transport like a way for people to transportate over the water.
Exactly. So that means the bridge is the man-made feature, the water is the natural feature. Then the interaction, the social interaction that will take place on that particular um, features is transportation from one location to another, right?
Mhm.
Good. So quickly, I want you to put in the chat in the chat here interaction mapping. I want you to connect these features you see, these components you see on the screen, connect one natural feature to another man-made feature. And you can connect two or
From
more. Yeah. The components, all those things, all those examples you see on the screen, connect one natural feature to
okay.
one physical feature. Do you understand? Do you understand
Yeah.
me? Yeah. You can connect one or
Yes.
more. Yeah, you can connect one or more features, or you can connect just two features. Good. 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 I need two more.
Yeah.
All right, good. Because of our time. So quickly from the connections you have done, tell me which one is the natural feature and which one is the man-made feature.
The river is a natural and then the bridge would be human made.
Okay.
Land is natural and then hospital is human made.
Mm,
And then people are natural and then the library is human made.
mm.
And then the last one, I kind of made it all like man made, but it
Good.
shows how humans use it.
Good. Perfect. That's impressive. Okay. So we'll move quickly to the next slide because of our time. Now, this next slide talks about problem solving task. We have two questions here. And the first question is, what happens if a factory, which is man-made, pollutes a river? You know what to pollute means,
Hmm.
right? To contaminate, okay? Then the second question says, how does this affect people? So I want you to to think about your answers to these questions from 3 points of view. One, environmental impact, human consequences, and possible solution. Do you know what environmental impact means?
Hmm. I do.
Yeah. Okay. Then human
Um,
consequences. So tell me the first question. If what happens if factories, that's man-made, pollute the river? What do you think will happen?
If there was like animals inside the river, so like fish and stuff, they would probably die. So
Great.
that affects the environment. Um, Human consequences would be like they would probably get a fee or like they would get in trouble for polluting it and not
Yeah.
paying attention. And then possible solution is to like maybe have like a chemical that could get rid of all of the pollution because all the fish and all the livestock is already dead inside the lake because of the pollution. So
Okay. Then do you not think that if effort is not made quickly, if human beings go ahead to eat fishes from from the polluted river, do you think it could affect their health or not?
it would affect our health too because that pollution would go inside of our bodies.
Exactly. So one of the possible solution again is to set up a regulatory body that would see to the fact that factories do not just discharge polluted substances into the water bodies. Okay?
Mhm.
Yeah. So we move to the second to the last slide. This is an application quiz. Okay? So I want you to identify quickly in the chat box, because of our time, we have just about 10 minutes more. Three Identify three elements in your environment. Then I want you to classify the the three elements that you have identified. I want you to classify them under natural, man-made, or social. And then I want you to explain them briefly how the three items you have identified, how they interact.
Okay.
So you can explain to me verbally how these elements interact. So you have
Okay.
mentioned, okay,
Um, the reason why I said house was man-made was because humans put that on top of the land.
exactly.
Air is natural because it comes naturally from the atmosphere. And then I put land as social because us humans can use that land to like play outside and stuff like that. So
Good.
like we play sports on land and we also like use land to make other things to have fun.
Great, great. That's impressive. That's impressive. So our last slide is a reflection of what we've done today and what we've done in previous sessions. So how can you tell me how do you think human beings depend on nature? How do we depend on nature?
Um, we depend on we depend on nature by how the land is set and how we can put things onto that land. Um, the second question, how does the built environment affect natural system? It affects it because it like it can ruin a natural living area into something that's not like meant for that. So like if we built something on top or next to a lake and there's animals coming from that lake, it would affect them because we're taking up their living area.
Good.
And then the last question, what role do people play in maintaining balance? We we play a role of balancing where we put natural places, like where we keep that and where we put human like made things.
Okay, you see, to buttress to for clarity on the last point, how do people
Hmm.
play? What role do people play in maintaining balance? You see, I told you earlier in one of our sessions that the component of the earth, all the 6 components of the earth interact, and then all the examples we gave under each component are very, very vital. Like I gave you the example of the microorganisms that we cannot see with our naked eyes, and I told you that as tiny as and as invisible as they are, they have the role they play in the ecosystem. Okay, so all the components of the natural environment has a role that they all play. Okay, so man must make sure that he understands the need for limits. Do you understand? They must know when to draw limits. We should not just keep modifying the environment just because we think we need to meet our own needs at the expense of our own destruction. Okay, so there's the need for vegetations to be available. There's the need for housing accommodation to be available. There's the need for water bodies to be available. There's the need for fresh air to be in circulation. Okay, so man should not destroy the ecosystem more than they should just because they want to create another feature. Okay, man should not destroy the bushes more than they should just because they want to build um structures for residential purpose or factory purposes. Okay, there must be a reasonable amount of vegetation that can handle some other features within the ecosystem. Okay, so man must know and understand that there's a limit to how or to what extent they modify the natural environment. Okay, otherwise um there will be huge catastrophe. So today we have come to an end um of our topic that we started a few times ago, and I am convinced that you now understand clearly what it means to talk about man's immediate environment, right? And you can definitely define what an environment is, what the natural environment is, what the built environment is, and what the social environment is. You can establish the relationship that exists between these three. You can talk about the component of the environment, of the natural environment, as well as the component of the built environment. And then you can talk about how man can influence the natural environment to its own advantage, and the need for man to understand that a balance must be maintained, right? Yeah. So, do you have any question for me? All right. So, I want to thank you for your patience, for your time. I want to also thank you for being always on time, and for giving me your full attention. I really appreciate. So, I hope to see you very soon. Okay. Take care of yourself and enjoy the rest of your week. Okay.
Okay, thank
I
you.
will give your mom a call, and then probably I can speak with you on through our phone.
Okay.
Bye. Have a good evening.
Bye. You too.